The flute is a woodwind instrument that is played in bands, orchestras, and woodwind groups. It is normally made out of metal, but can be made out of wood or bone. These flutes were played in places like Egypt, Greece, and China. Wooden flutes became popular in Europe in the mid-1700s. The flute might be one of the oldest instruments in the world. Created 35,000 years ago, it looked more like a recorder and was made out of wood. Flutes look the way they look like today because of the German instrument manufacturer Theobald von. Who presented his new flute model in 1847. The C flute, or the concert flute, which is this flute, or also on the board here, is divided into three parts. The head joint, the body, and the foot joint. The head joint is where the embouchure hole is located, which is where you blow air to make sound. The word embouchure itself means the way that a brass or woodwind player applies their mouth to the mouthpiece of the instrument. The body and the foot joint is where the keys are situated. The keys determine what note you play by pressing on them. Now, a bit of the history of the flute. The transverse flute of the Middle Ages was made out of one piece of wood. This instrument was called the fife and was used to accompany infantry marches. Fife is this instrument here. The fife is a high-pitched instrument like the piccolo and is just below 2 feet long. During the Renaissance, instrumental music was not exclusively used for accompaniment anymore. Instruments made at this time followed the vocal model. The proportions of these instruments correspond to the various voice types: soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. In the Baroque era, when new musical pieces were made for a singer and accompaniment became more popular, the recorder became less and less important, and the transverse flute eventually displaced it. The early transverse Baroque flute has 6 holes, like the fife, but these holes were organized into 2 groups of 3 holes. These holes were matched to the proportions of the human hands. By the 18th century, the instrument was remodeled and looked more similar to the modern-day flute. The biggest accomplishment was the creation of the first key. This key was controlled by the right hand. In the classical period, 4, 6, and 8-key flutes, 8-key models had been made to try to improve the tone, but the 1-keyed flute still flourished. In the 1820s, Theobald von, a Munich flutist and goldsmith, started making flutes as a side job. In 1847, he introduced his new kind of flute, which had a new mechanism and fingering system. It was made out of metal. Now about some of the members of the Western concert flute family. The piccolo, this instrument, is one of the most criticized instruments in the entire orchestra. It has been vilified by music researchers, instrument manufacturers, and composers. Despite their criticism, they still recognize it a beautiful and useful instrument as the flute. The piccolo's history is similar to the one of the concert flute. Its ancestor is the military fife of the medieval times. Like the concert flute, it came to have more keys, but not the foot joint or the foot keys that the flute has. Piccolos are half the size of the flute and are an octave higher. Modern piccolos are made out of these materials: wood, silver, and plastic, or a mix of these. Wood piccolos are better for orchestral playing because they are less shrill than the metal version, though wood piccolos have a number of disadvantages. Good quality piccolos can be hard to find, and even though there are many manufacturers of wood piccolos, their qualities are very different. And wood piccolos require a tighter embouchure. which is more exhausting and might have an impact on the tone. The newest transformation in piccolo making is the addition of the plastic for body. This set looks and sounds like wood. It is resistant to the elements. Plastic piccolos are a good choice for students and even professionals. The alto flute, this flute right here, is slightly longer than the C flute, making it sound lower. The alto flute's ancestors go back to the Renaissance. During the 18th and 19th century, there were several attempts to make an alto flute, but none of these were true altos. Like the concert flute, this flute was designed by Boehm about 1854-1855, after he finished working on his silver C flute. The mechanisms of these two flutes are very similar. The alto flute needs a somewhat more relaxed embouchure than playing the C flute, especially in the lower octave, more air directed with less speed, or the tone may break or crack. The bass flute, this flute, is the least popular instrument of the flute family. It is 58 inches long and an octave below the C flute. Versions of this instrument have been made every so often. The bass flute is rather hard to play because of its weight and size. That's why it always has a curved head joint. Without it, it'd be way too long to hold. Regular metal bass flutes are somewhat costly, so PVC tubing ones are available. The contrabass is 2 octaves below the bass flute, so 2 octaves below the concert flute. It is made from silver, and its price ranges range from $16,000 to $20,000. So it is rarely owned by people. Instead, it is owned by universities and flute choirs. Even rarer than the contrabass is the subcontrabass. It is 3 octaves below the C flute, which is the same as playing the lowest note on the piano. It is 6 feet tall, but the tube is a total length of 15 feet. So then I have some audios of the Western concert flute. First is the piccolo. I don't have a video of the concert flute because I'm just going to play something really quickly so you can kind of get the note. The next one is the alto. The bass flute.
había visto.
It's-
It's so low sometimes that you can barely distinguish a note.
Wow.
Then I have some flutes from around the world. The Banzuri flute, which is this flute, it is established in Nepal and India. This horizontally played flute is traditionally made from one stalk of bamboo. It has 6 or 7 finger holes to create soothing music. It is a main choice in Indian classical music. It has come to be very popular in Western music. The dizi, or the Chinese, also known as the Chinese transverse flute, is made from bamboo and is able of making an ample span of sounds, from light soothing themes to intense energetic notes. It is traditionally associated with Chinese classical music, but its flexibility means it is also played in contemporary. This is the dizi. The vessel flute was invented in Italy and was made in 1853. This flute has a very unique shape, and its body is a spherical shell. And this flute has become globally loved because of its lovely sound and delightfully unusual design. The ney flute originated in Egypt, but it can also be found in Turkish and Persian cultures. The Persian ney has 6 holes and is played horizontally, while the Egyptian and Turkish ney has 7 holes and is played vertically. And then this is the ney flute. Now, this is the Banzuri. This is the vessel flute. So there's in the photo there's like several types of vessel flutes, but this one specifically is called the ocarina vessel flute. The dizi. During the centuries, flutes have evolved from being a single piece of wood to a metal flute with very sophisticated mechanisms. There are many flutes in the world with beautiful sounds, and flutes will continue to be a big part of music today. Questions or comments? Hannibal.
Which flute is your favorite?
Well, I don't really play other than them, but are you referring to like the sound?
Yes.
I really like the DZ, it has I really like the sound. Zuri.
Your research slate was so good.
Thank you. Anna.
What inspired you to do this research?
So, I was really, so I had two options. It was either the flute, this evolution of the flute, or the piano, and I really liked both of them. And I actually spent like maybe 90% of the time trying to decide which one to do. So, and then I don't know, I just kind of leaned toward the flute more. Even it was like I still play the piano, and it was the first instrument I played, but I still felt more connected